Shalom, Ka'ala Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Korpodash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect, who are the house of David reborn again in this generation. And Shalom to the 130 Yasharala, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Indians, who before losing their true heritage were known as, and still are, the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about an update to the coming mark of the beast, which will soon be here. But let's read this first. This is Revelations 13 and 16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that hath the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. That is 666. So, as you know, here at Great Millstone, we are constantly giving you updates and telling you that, you have to be on the lookout for the coming MOB, right? This is something that will soon be upon us. And what we are living through right now with this whole C-19 pandemic, where, even your bosses and your community leaders and your idols are in on it, man. Right? And they're not in on it on the ground floor. They're simply just puppets doing their role to get their paychecks and to please their bosses, right? But when you go all the way to the top, right, the top of the ladder, when it says he, right, you ultimately find out who that he is. Right? Who is that he? That he would be the nation who biblically is known as the nation of Edom, who today are referred to themselves as the Caucasian race or the Europeans race, even though they're not the original Europeans, or or that they made the name Caucasian up. They also refer to themselves as the white people. But again, there's no such thing as a white or black person. Right? These are just names, aliases made up by the fugitive, who is trying to escape his judgment, trying to flee his true identity, right? Because that ultimately is what these elites and these people who are in rulership of the world today, they are, right? They are the biblical fugitives that are fleeing from their judgment, right? They are the descendants of Esau, right? Jacob's evil brother, and they are the spiritual descendants of Cain, who killed his brother, right? Well, that being said, let's go and read this article and just give you an update on what's going on with the MOB and how these devils are trying to push it. Now, right here in this title says, the WHO, which is the World Health Organization, is working on digital wallet to store vaccination certificate official, right? Now, one thing I want you to focus on here in this article, it's a short article, but we're going to go through it, but I want you to focus on the term, the digital wallet, right? Because you see, they're about to implode your economic system, Babylonians, I should say, right? And when I say Babylonians, I'm talking about you Americans, right? See, I am not an American. I'm an Israelite who lives in America, right? Who is captive here in Babylon the Great, right? Now, I may have called myself a Mexican in the past, a Latino, right? I'm an American, but that was all under, not having wisdom or understanding of who I truly was, right? I understand now that I am an Israelite, right, of the tribe of Issachar, right? So that's who I am, right? That's my true biblical nationality, right? And that's the identity and the secret, which these devils in power at the very top are ultimately trying to keep from you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, so that way you don't truly understand who you are, and hence don't reconnect to your true power. But let's go ahead and just read this article, and let's find out how these devils are trying to give you these false benefits and trying to make it seem as if they're out here trying to help you. It says, a World Health Organization, the WHO official said that the organization is working to develop a C19 jab digital wallet and is also seeking to increase the distribution of an international certificate for those who've been jabbed. Now, one thing, you see, being a technician, in IT, these certificates, what they're ultimately trying to sell you is a digital certificate, right? When you go to and I'll actually show you what I'm talking about. When you go to a site and you see those little locks, right? This is just one, for example, right? Here you go. When you go to a website and you see that little green lock, right? You ultimately have a certificate, right? A code, right? Which is a series of files. Let's actually take a look at it. Right? This is, here you go. Where is it? Well, ultimately it's this stuff here, right? There you go. You have this. This is a code, along with all these other things, right? That this site has generated, which means that this connection I have between my computer and their computer is unique and protected, right? They're protecting this connection with a certificate, a digital certificate, right? Now, this certificate is encrypted, right? Even though it's not, recognized, right? Or certificate of authority, no, which basically means, the organization, which again, there's like 5 organizations in the world who say if a certificate is legitimate or not, right? That's as simple as it gets. There's no difference between this, encryption code versus one that's you pay $15 for, or that these devils here are going to make. Other than that, the organizations that authorizes or that approves them, right? They're going to say it's okay. Well, that's what they're working on. That's what this international certificate is. And don't be fooled by the legal mumbo jumbo and the appearance that it's all high and mighty. No, it is simply just a code of encryption that their own companies will say is fine, right? But ultimately, I said all that to say this: it is simply just a way to number you, right? Because that certificate that you get is not going to change. It's going to always stay with you, and that is going to be your ID, your number, right? Your jab certificate, right? Which is going to be put in a digital wallet, which is ultimately just your online account that they're going to make for the most part. Right? And a digital wallet, it's basically just going to be a blockchain system that you're going to store your information inside, right? And the whole blockchain is the system that all this can exist within, okay? Now, let's go and just continue reading. For those who have been jabbed, Dr. Michael Ryan, an Irish epidemiologist who is head of the WHO Health Emergencies Program dealing with the C19, made the remarks during a daily news briefing on July 12th in Geneva. We have encouraged countries that want to, they may use the international certificate for jabs and prophylaxis. Prophylaxis, by the way, is medicine, which is like vaccines basically, but it's medicines that will help you from keeping or from getting a jab, or I'm sorry, a disease, right? When you go to certain countries like Africa where there's malaria, you got to take certain shots, or you got to take certain medicine. That is considered a prophylaxis, right? That require other countries to recognize that certificate of jab. Ryan, you see this is ultimately the system that they already have set up. Don't believe these devils that they are working on developing some a system where other countries will recognize the certificate that other countries make. No, they've already have set this up. This is already ready to go. The only thing is that they are slowly rolling it out little by little. Okay, remember back last year when they were talking about how they were working feverishly to get these jabs so that way we could be protected from this, right? And now look at where we are now. Right now the jabs are now they're talking about creating booster jabs and other jabs for the new variants that are coming out, right? These are all part of the plan that have been set up, people. They are just putting on a show, a security theater show for the masses out there to fall into this trap they're setting up. Continuing, Ryan said, adding that the WHO is working to increase the distribution of paper versions of their international certificate of jab prophylaxis and also developing a digital wallet that could be used for the same purpose. The organization, he said, will provide more detailed data standards for individual countries to generate their own digital jab certificates, right? Ultimately, they're going to give them that little bit of code that I showed you, or what's known as a public key. Let's see if I can find it again. You see here where it says, see, verified by, see how it says not specified? Because this website, Zero Hedge, they create their own certificates, which, again, it is just as good. It encrypts the signals, but they haven't paid a third-party organization to verify the certificate, right? Again, I used to work in a company, at a hosting company, to sell these digital certificates for people who wanted to have SSL encryption on their websites, right? If they had e-commerce site, they needed to buy that certificate, which was sometimes they would sell for $60, sometimes $300, sometimes $800. And really what you're paying for is an insurance policy in case your data gets, jacked, right? Now, that being said, what it says here, where it says for jabs are recognized with essentially, or where it says, what was it? Generate their own digital. See, it's an individual countries to generate their own digital jab certificates. Well, they're going to ultimately give these devils the public, or where is it? I believe it's this, but they're going to give them their own key, which is going to allow them to create another key. Oh, I'm sorry, I think it's this right here, the serial number, or it could even be this right here. But they're going to give them a key, which will let them generate their own certificate, which is going to match with, which will, when authenticated against like the master key, right? They're going to be able to pass it, right? And this is all part of these devils' system, man, right? See, they hold the keys and they're making it seem as if they're trying to actually help you, but they're not, man. They're setting up these locks and chains, right? And they're making it seem as if they are providing a solution, but in fact, what they're doing is they're simply setting up traps, right? But that does not get around the policy issues around which jabs are recognized within that system that is essentially an international policy issue between countries. Ryan didn't provide details about the digital wallet, right? There you go. Which sparked concern and criticism on social media on July 12th about whether such an international jab passport-style system could be implemented by the World Health Organization for travel. World Health Organization officials didn't immediately respond to a request by the Epoch Times for comment. Jab passports have been panned for civil liberties and human rights groups who have said such centralized systems, see, and there you go, right? See, because they're going to control that main key, which will be, said that it's good to go and that it's, that they're going to verify the other keys that are generated. A centralized system could violate individuals' privacy. Some Republican lawmakers said passports would create a two-tier society. And that's true, man. Right? See, because this is the division that the Lord is ultimately bringing to the world right now. And you see right now what's happening is that the good is being separated from the evil, and that eventually is going to go to those people who are marked, with the MOB, and those who do not have the mark. Right? That's going to be the two-tier society that eventually will, exist. Right? And that's going to be when we're going to be right at the cusp of the end of the world, when the Messiah will show up. Right? Let's continue. Of unjabbed and jabbed individuals, which unjabbed individuals being denied services or even their rights. Among those critics include the left-leaning American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU, which wrote a blog post saying there is a lot that can go wrong with jab passports. It's likely that such requests will become overused as people get asked for credentials at every turn, the group wrote in late March. While there are legitimate circumstances in which people can be asked for proof of jab, we don't want to turn into a checkpoint society that outlasts the danger of C-19 and that casually excludes people without credentials from facilities where jab mandates are not highly justified. And that's exactly where we're going to go, unfortunately, right? You're going to basically be required to have these, not the jab itself, because again, once this whole C-19 thing blows over, which right now, it's, these devils are fighting tooth and nail, and they're trying to come up with all these variants, and they're trying to scare the shit out of people again to keep the reasons for the lockdowns, the reasons for needing to get the jabs, going, right, or keep it going. But you see, eventually what's going to happen is there's going to be another false flag. There's going to be another event which is going to require that the system which was set up, right, the digital wallets, the certifications, right, the verification systems, to be used for other things, right? This is how these devils are going to, this is why the devils are going to implement the money system into this, the jab, verification. Pretty soon you're going to have other things that you need to verify or that you need for information included in these MOBs, these chips that they want to implant either in your hands or in your foreheads, right? But right now we're simply just at the beginning of this implementation. So right now they're trying to come up with all these justifications to make you need to get these, right? And that's ultimately what this is talking about, man. Right? So again, don't believe these devils. Continuing, several Republican-led states have either passed laws or implemented executive orders barring the use of jab passports by local or state government offices, while places including Florida have implemented bans on private businesses from doing so. Officials in the Biden administration said several months ago that they aren't pushing for a federal jab passport mandate. And that's bullshit, right? Because you see, even though they're not pushing for a federal jab passport mandate, these devils in the background are working with these huge corporations and organizations, and they're basically patting them on the back and giving them incentives to do so. That being said, let's continue. Last week, however, the White House press secretary Jen Psaki said the administration wouldn't intervene if businesses use them. Right? You see that, saying that they wouldn't do anything if companies out there use them. Now, listen to what this devil said. That's not currently the role of the federal government, right? So the devil is in the details, people, right? That's not currently, right? Not currently the role of the federal government, Psaki said. Reporters, there are a number of private sector entities, universities, institutions that are starting to mandate, and that's an innovative step that they will take, and that they should take. That's not, and we're not taking issues with that. You see that? So ultimately, these devils, see, they're letting these, you know, private sector entities, universities, and by the way, you know, I work at a university, right? So the thing is I'm going through this bullshit right now too, right? They're not mandating it, but it's definitely, you know, they're making it very clear that they want everybody to be mandated, and those, or I'm sorry, that everybody jabbed, and for those who are not jabbed, they're basically making us go through fucking all these loopholes, right? Of testing, of you know, reporting, and you know, continue to wear your mask and all this bullshit, man. But it is what it is. It's those little things you're gonna have to put up with, you know. But hey, it's okay, because ultimately the Lord has strengthened me, particularly in this testimony I'm giving, so that way I'm fine doing that, man, right? Because I understand what the alternative is, right? To get these jabs, and what that signifies, and what that will ultimately do to you, man. So, but you know, this here ultimately is what we will all have to go through. Let's watch this video that was on nightly news on NBC. And like as you see, it says NBC uses propaganda to promote the benefits of microchipping. Now this was from 2019, basically 2 years ago. Okay. Now one thing I want you to notice in this video is they actually show you that these things are going to be considered digital wallets. Okay, this is where you're going to be able to store your digital wallets in these chips that are implanted into your hands, right? That's why I said to pay attention to the term of digital wallets being used in that article by the WHO. But let's watch this.
When Elias Brotberger goes to work, he doesn't need ID, and he doesn't need money. In fact, much of what he needs to get through the day is hidden right there, just below the surface, in his hand.
Like to touch it?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, weird. Yeah, it's like a grain of rice.
Yeah, a grain of rice.
Embedded in his hand is a microchip that serves as his keys, his ID, and his wallet.
Yeah, it's all in chips. So I use it like to get around the building.
Buy snacks.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's buy some snacks. Exactly. So I can't open it.
No.
Okay.
So what I need to do is I need to first blip my chip, and it will log me in, and from there I get access to the fridge.
Popular TV shows like Black Mirror have imagined chips as part of a dystopian future.
Install in-grain procedure with local anesthetic and you're good to go.
In Sweden, the microchips are already here.
The microchip implants use the same technology.
So you see, so they're just showing you how this is already being implemented piecemeal at a time. Little bits here, a little bit there. If you go right now to your local big store in your city, you're going to notice that the credit card machine, besides having a credit card swiper, a chip inserter, it has more likely has a little wireless receiver in it, right? Because these devils, they understand what's going on, so they are planning for the future. But they understand that they got to bring these out, all these changes out very slowly for people not to complain. It's just like the frog in the boiling water scenario, right? If you put up the water temperature too fast, the frog will jump out. But if you put it, you turn up the water temperature little by little, that frog will stay in there until he's cooked alive. Now let's go and read this. Ecclesiasticus 12:16. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. You see that? Now you Negroes and Latinos and Native Americans, you know, contrary to popular belief, you in fact do have true enemies in this world, right? That would be all the other 17 biblical nations in the world, right? Israel being the 18th nation, right? Now, out of all those 17 other nations, the nation of Edom is your chief number one enemy, right? And they have a duty, an agenda to push, and that is your extermination, to get rid of the seed of Israel before the second coming of the Messiah. Now these devils, they know that the Lord's coming back. This is why they've kicked their agenda and their push for the New World Order into hyperdrive, man. This is why they're paying your favorite old fucking crusty rappers to bring out, songs like Backs That Thing Up and shit, right? And all these stupid gimmicky, hustles to try to get you to take this jab, man. But you got to be strong. You got to understand what's at stake here. And ultimately, you got to understand, man, that it doesn't matter what they, offer you, man. You got to stand your ground and understand what you would be giving up. That being the kingdom of heaven, being with the Lord, right? If you take that chip, you're gonna be burnt here in Babylon the Great or anywhere in the world where you're at, and you're gonna have to be reborn through the loins of those who did make it, right? So you're gonna have to die and then be reborn into the kingdom of heaven if you are a Negro, Latino, or Native Indian, or if your father's lineage goes back to that bloodline, right? So let's continue to read verse 17. And before we get to 17, let's examine this little part here, right? The enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, right? Isn't that what we just seen in that video clip, right? They're trying to tell you that, hey, you could get, snacks with this chip. You won't need to do things, right? You could carry your money, your ID, your digital wallet. What a benefit, right? See, these devils are trying to make it sound like it's a sweet deal, right? That now you'll be able to travel, to go to all these different countries, and it'll be just like old times. You just are going to need to have this digital, certificate, which, hey, you could store it inside your digital implanted RFID chip. See, that's ultimately going to be the gimmick that these devils are going to try to bring out and hustle your ass with, right? But this is why we're here telling you, beware of the mark of the beast and do not take it, okay, when it's offered to you. But in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. And you see, because ultimately these devils at the very top, they understand what's going on, right? They know that these jabs can get, what they can do. They hear all these sob stories of people complaining now that they've got the jab and now they're sick or their child's sick. They know that people are going to come up infertile and all this type of stuff, but they're not going to do anything about it, right? Because ultimately they got, in their heart, they have an agenda to push, and that agenda is to throw thee into a pit, to basically cut your line off, man. He will weep with his eyes, right? And doesn't Esau do that, man? Isn't he out on the news and talking about, oh, there's so many thousands of people who are dying. If only they had the jab, we wouldn't have this problem, right? But that's bullshit, because it's been proven that if you get the jab, that that doesn't keep you from catching the C19, but that in fact it would prime your body, so that way the effects would be even worse, right? So like I said, it's crazy the levels of hypocrisy and ridiculousness that's coming out with this whole thing, man. Let's continue now to 17. If adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first, right? So all of a sudden we're stricken with this pandemic, with this virus that just won't go away. That we've been told that it's so dangerous, even though it has an over 99% survival rate, doesn't affect kids, and only people who really die are the out of shape elderly people, man. Out of shape, obese, and elderly people, right? But they're all of a sudden shutting down society, and locking down people, the healthy. For the first time in history, the healthy people have been quarantined, okay? Now, just like it tells you here, right? If adversity come upon thee like a pandemic, thou shalt find him there first, right? Wasn't Esau out there talking about, oh, we need to find a solution for this. We need to find jabs that will help us become immune to this, will help us, fight this, right? And now look, right? Now that the jabs have been created in an amazingly fast record light speed time frame, right? Within less than a year. Now all of a sudden, now they're talking about implementing a way to verify if you've been jabbed or not. See? That's, check out Esau being there first on the crime scene, man. Talking about who did it with a fucking knife in his hand. And though he pretend to help thee, Yet shall he undermine thee. He will shake his head and clap his hands and whisper much and change his countenance. Because you see, ultimately what's going to happen is when he starts realizing that all these, fucking sellout rappers, these, fucking whack-ass movie stars, and, can't sell the jab to our community, he's gonna change his countenance, man. He's gonna start making it mandatory. He's gonna start, like there was a video of in Russia where they sent, army guys into fucking apartment buildings to fucking almost knock down people's buildings or doors and freaking jab them up, man, forcefully right there, right? And there's nothing those people could do, man. They weren't gonna fight against 3 guys with fucking huge AK-47s and shit that came barging into his house while he's shirtless and jeans, man, looking all bewildered. That's going to ultimately be the story of many of our people in this world, because they've not woken up, or they've decided to go away from this truth. So that's the punishment, and that's the judgment that the Lord ultimately has for these people, man. But again, I just wanted to, touch upon this article, just give an update to showing you that these devils are still, moving forward with their agenda to bring forward the MOB. So again, beware, Akim. We're very close to the end. So with all that, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem, Yahushai, Ba'Shem, Ruach HaKodesh. Double honors to my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect. Shalom.